there, Lisa Starr, back with another episode of StarCast. We are live at the New York City Global Wellness Institute Trend event for 2025, and I'm going to get some feedback from some of the attendees. Our first guest is Heather Mikesell, co-founder of Well-Defined Media, and many of us know her as former editor at American Spa. Heather, we've been in this space for decades, dare we say. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So there were 10 trends released this morning. What were your thoughts as a journalist on what you heard this morning?
You know, I feel like I've been doing this for a very long time. So it's being in the wellness space for so long. I think a lot of us are very well acquainted what direction the wellness world is going in. I was happy to see that the number one trend was actually about going like a return to analog, getting off our devices, things like that. I think that is much needed right now. I think we're kind of all overwhelmed with social media in a sense, and also the fact that there's no fact checking on social media, the misinformation that's out there, the fact that we're all in these, silos of, certain algorithms that are leading us in certain directions that kind of resonate with us, whether we're triggered by anger and that's what keeps us on there, or if we just want to look at puppy dogs and that type of thing. So I think the idea that a lot of us are looking for ways to get off social media.
That's encouraging to me. I have to tell you, like when you're in a public setting, you're at a coffee shop, you're in line in an elevator, everyone is staring at their device. And I always think, what if an alien came down here? They would think that we were attached to these things, which we basically are now. So I too like that idea of like, oh, okay, let's put it down. My daughter will say that to me. Put the phone down, Mom, and just be here.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I go to a New York City restaurant and I look around at people dining with their friends or their significant others and they're all on their phones. And I'm like, no wonder there's a loneliness epidemic. Even when we're together, we're not together. We need to be distracted at all times. And I ride the subway and.
It's so interesting. Which of the other trends kind of stood out to you?
I thought watershed wellness was really interesting about the lack of water, like how we're running out of water. And, you look at certain communities in the country where that's a big issue. And I think it's something that we're not talking about nearly enough. I was just recently on a call about microplastics and being one of the new things that we should be testing for in our water. And there's a whole movement basically to get 7 of the governors to kind of, if 7 of the governors can kind of put forth, agree to it, then we can kind of get that as being one of the things that we look at that we test for in our water. And it's kind of there's a whole campaign about that going on, and they're targeting certain governors that they think would be open to that. And I think we should need to be talking about that. I mean, I come from Flint, Michigan, where obviously.
So you know about water.
I do. And I just think this is something that, a lot of people take for granted. We have clean water in this country, and that's not always the case everywhere.
It was a great idea, I think, to have a trend that, shows sort of the underside of spa using so much water in treatments, in hospitality, so it's great, I think, that we look at the impact of that overall if we're talking about a healthy planet.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of these trends were interesting. I mean, obviously, I think I had mentioned to you earlier, the supplement paradox. I find supplements, I feel like we're just inundated with supplements at this point. And to be honest, I think if we were eating properly, we probably wouldn't need nearly as many supplements. So I do feel like it's also just a quick fix that I think that I don't necessarily know that it's healthy in the long run. It's the same thing with, losing weight, taking Ozempic or taking, I feel like we just want these quick fixes, and
we do.
We're not getting healthier.
They said the Clinique La Prairie one costs $750 a month. I guess you'd be willing to pay that if it solved all your problems and it worked, but do you have to take it for the rest of your life? That's a pretty big investment.
Exactly. And I also and how many people is that accessible to? What percent of the population is going to be able to afford that?
Well, I'm guessing that's why they named the trend the supplement paradox. It's not because it's a challenge. You want them, but when is enough or not too much?
Exactly. And as an editor, even doing supplement stories, I find very challenging because do I test it for a week, a month? Do I know if it's working? Really couldn't tell you. Do I feel better? I could possibly, But
It's hard to pin it to one thing.
I think it's really almost impossible to know whether, unless there's some kind of testing that you're doing that can tell you, is your gut health improving? That would give you something to judge it against. But as someone just randomly taking it, yeah.
What did you think about the wellness on the lines, cruising, training trend?
Honestly, I had a cruise column years ago, so I feel like that didn't seem very new to me. That didn't seem like, so I feel like that's been around. So that actually didn't really strike me as being.
I think it's been around, but I will say consumers weren't that interested in it before. I wonder if it is drawing people to those activities who avoided them in the past because they felt like the one speaker said, like, you're just going to eat the whole time if you go on a cruise. And so maybe there's a audience segment that is like, oh, I could do this and do it in a healthy way.
I could see that. I also think there's on the other hand, I also just think that since COVID, the idea of getting on a cruise is not necessarily the top of mind, and even just with everything that's going on. But I love the idea. I absolutely love the idea of having, because for years all the cruises were run by one company, and so there wasn't a lot of differentiation in between any of them. You could take any cruise line and you'd still be getting the same spa. So I love the idea that there's, you have options now for sure. And the idea of doing the shore excursions and things like that with, wellness in mind, I think is always, the more people you can get involved in it.
Any other trends that you'd care to comment on out of the list?
The augmented biology, I really don't know what to think about that. I feel like we've been going in that direction for a while, but I don't necessarily know that everyone wants to. It's like biohacking. Just everybody want to be, faster, this and that. I feel like, yes, you want to optimize your health, but when you take it past a certain level and, I don't necessarily want microchips and
Right.
yes,
We don't want to be turned into robots.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that that's, where I would want to go in a wellness sense. I'd like to make the most of what I've got.
Well, I think it asks the question of what do people want and how far people are willing to go. I'm thinking of that fellow, is his name Brian Johnson, was a tech guy that's like doing all this testing and living this crazy life because he expects not to expire at any point. We shall see how successful he is, but some people are really willing to give up their body for science.
That is very true. I actually did think the longevity redefine's work was very interesting, though, the aging population. And I also find it fascinating that, if you look at capitalism, and the way things are working, also, I feel like there's ageism in the marketplace as well. So the idea, if you can pay someone a 20-year-old, half of what you're paying the 50-year-old, obviously corporations go that way oftentimes, but the fact that the population is aging, I find really interesting. And I think we have to, rethink how we do things.
Well, those of us that are older do know stuff, right?
Right. Exactly. Yes. And I think it's going to impact every part of our life. And, there's a reason that the population is declining. In this country, particularly if there's no, childcare is extremely expensive. So, unless we address those social issues, you're not going to, there's not a lot of incentive for people to,
Well, this will be
the world
way.
Is burning.
We'll be diverse, at least in age, across categories because people can work longer than they are.
Exactly.
Here's the two of us. We're still working.
I know.
Well, thanks again for joining us, Heather Mikesell. It was great to see you.
Thank you.
So now we're with Jennifer Walsh, who many of you know from Walks with Walsh, which she's famous for, but she has a new company, The Lost Art of Being Human, the name of which you must love. I do. So thanks for joining us. So Jennifer, what did you think about the trends that you heard this morning? What resonated with you?
It was really great. A very diverse group of trends, the 10. But my number one, my favorite was the analog wellness. To think about really, this is the year to go offline. I couldn't love it more because it's you. Because I feel like that's what I talk about all the time. And I'm always trying to get people just to realize to be human is really when we're separate from being so attached to technology. That's where you find that joy and the soul and spirit of what it means to be human is when we're not so connected to tech all the time. Technology is so important because we get to do this right now. But at the same time, we have to realize like what it means in our life and be really intentional with that relationship with technology.
How did you come to this? I mean, you've been on my podcast before, but you embrace the new and yet you're outside all the time. How did that dichotomy happen for you?
That's a great question. I think also like the slow, even though I live in New York City and I'm from the Bronx, I live in a tent, as you know, like 4 months out of every year. So that really helps kind of remind myself, I should say, of like the importance of the slowdown and the quiet.
Her tent has a bathroom, by the way, but
It
at the
has
season, but it's very
Wi-Fi.
cute.
It has a bathroom and all the good stuff. But yeah, it's kind of, I guess that teaching was always there of like how important that quiet and that still. And I don't have a TV at the tent. I don't really even use one at home.
So you can't watch baseball all summer?
Oh
That
my
would be a
gosh,
challenge for me.
crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, I thought that the trends were really interesting. That I really loved. I'm so happy to see that the analog was the first one spoken about.
So how will we get people to embrace that trend? How will we get them to put down their devices?
You know what, Lisa? I think because this year's become so it's angry and so divisive, but also with the rise of AI, we don't know what's real or what's not real anymore. And I feel like there's just going to be this wave of, is that really real? Is this going to be fake? Is that picture real? I don't want to scroll images that are fake all the time.
I have already sent a few things to my kids on Instagram and like, look at this. And they're like, Mom, it's AI. I'm like, oh,
no.
you're right.
But yeah, I think that's going to be it. It's going to say, wow. I mean, I think last year was the last year we were going to have that was going to be really understanding what was real and fake. And I think this year is the line's going to be blurred. And I think that's going to turn people off. Some people, not always, and not all people.
That's a great point. I hope it's true.
I hope so too. They'd rather have this kind of one-on-one versus just always being in this technological world that's fake. And the avatars aren't real and just,
well, you feel like you're connected, but you're not.
yeah.
What you're connected to is that device in your hand and not the people at the other end. It's sort of a fake way of participating.
100%. 100%.
So what else did you hear this morning that you thought was useful?
There are quite a few. I mean, I loved a lot of them. I love to see the teen wellness in terms of just deeper understanding of how to take care of yourself. And like a lot about brain health, of how you really kind of take care of the quiet for your own head and getting off of technology. I really like the teen wellness. But also I like the wellness on the line because I'm very interested in rail travel and I've never done it before. So I want to study that a little bit more, maybe do some stories around the rail travel.
I took a sleeper train from Glasgow after the summit down to London just because I wanted to do it. And it's an experience. I mean, I had a room with a bathroom with a shower. And I mean, I can't say I slept much, but I enjoyed doing it. But what I realized is I wish I'd been able to look out the window. Like it's at night, it leaves at 11. And so you arrive in the morning in London and go to your day or whatever, but you didn't see the countryside.
Oh, that's a shame.
So what I learned is next time I'll just take the slow train and go in the daytime.
Good for you.
I think it will be, someone else mentioned it from this morning that they didn't feel like the wellness on cruising was new, but I feel like, well, it's attracting a newer segment of people to know you can do healthy things on the boat.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Oh, that was interesting for me because I never thought about that until they mentioned it. I said, oh, yeah, that's interesting. Because you're right. It's usually the giant buffets and everything's so big. And
you'd be
over the
lucky
top.
if there was a walking path around the ship.
Exactly.
And so maybe it will bring more people into cruising. I'm interested to see how they do it on the rails. I know some people who have done the Belmont trip, which apparently is fabulous.
Must be. Yeah, it must be. So I thought it was a good morning. I'm always interested in what's going to be released every year. So I always find them fascinating. And then who then dives into that and how they are picked up globally is always really interesting to me.
Oh, agreed. Like so many journalists in the room, and we'll have to see over the next few weeks who writes what about what.
Exactly.
Right.
I love to see it.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jennifer.
Thank you, Lisa. Always appreciate you.
You too. Our next guest is Sandra Sebowski. Sandra, it's great to see you. How are things?
It is so amazing to see you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Things are wonderful, and I'm really, truly excited to be here today.
So you're here with Brookwall, representing Brookwall, your consulting firm. So we just heard the trends, the 2025 trends. What were your thoughts? Any of them stand out to you?
A few really stood out to me. First and foremost, I love that we're going to the Middle East for the Global Wellness Summit. I think the Middle East has such potential and such growth trajectory. And because they do everything so big in the Middle East,
They know how to do it big.
they do know how to do it big. It maybe isn't fast. It's fast, but because it's big, it takes a while. So I think we're going to see the explosion happening now. It's finally coming full circle.
Because these things will start to come online.
Correct. So I'm really excited to see that. It's a beautiful country. The UAE, I've been. I'm excited to go back. And I think, it's just the tip of the iceberg over there. The other trend that really resonated with me was the teen wellness.
Having
four-
teens.
Having 4 children. Almost all are teens now. I am going to marry 2 of these trends. I am flabbergasted at how much time my teens spend in the digital space. I have asked and begged the school to go back to paper and pen, and I'm now considering homeschooling because I am so disappointed with the school system and what our teens are going through.
So they're more reliant on technology.
Correct. And I just feel like it's affecting our teens. Of course, there's positives to it, but the negatives, they're just so influenced at that age. And they don't think before they act. So they're seeing things, they're judging, they're hurting each other. So I really think it's hard to parent their digital access. So, our teen wellness is just huge for me and as a parent, and just for our future generations. So I'm very passionate about that area.
Makes sense.
And then last but not least, I would say that, the sauna reimagined, having built, some of these really fun saunas, World Spa, Sojo Spa Club 5 years ago, really on trend. And now seeing this space, reimagined is very exciting. I'm in production right now with an ownership group building 100,000 square foot outdoor Nordic contrast bathing spa. And so
Where will that be?
in the Poconos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we break ground this summer. And so it's really exciting to be in this space and see the excitement in that space and everyone kind of who's in it, taking it in different directions, and from the authentic, forest bathing to the sort of commercializing of it, if you will. But, retro is a big topic in that space as well. And just, bringing in different elements to make the experiences unique and in a wellness environment.
You, as you mentioned, were the opening spa director at World Spa in Brooklyn. And were you shocked by how quickly that got popular at the time? I mean, what's it been 2 years now, right?
It's been 2 years. And no, I mean, I really feel like people are wanting these experiences, these unique experiences. And as the discussion has led all day today, we want more wellness and we're looking for those sort of social wellness. We want to still be social, but how do we do it well?
Not be in a bar, but do
Correct.
something healthy.
Let's go to happy hour after work. And now it's, how can we, do that with our colleagues and with our friends and with our family? And how does that get democratized, which we didn't talk about so much today, but is an interesting topic.
But it is one of the more affordable trends, as Jane Kitchen mentioned when questioned. I mean, I've been to the floating saunas in Oslo in the harbor, and they're $10, to go. I mean, they're nothing fancy, but they're not unaffordable, So I do think there are opportunities in the sauna wet amenity culture to either have a day dedicated to lower priced options or a way to bring in those other populations that we haven't been able to service in the massage and facial space.
100%. And you're going to see that with Ferrum Group coming into the US, launching in DC and Dallas. And also with, the big trend on, healthcare and workplace wellness, you're going to start to see that, supported through our government and through the workplace and giving those sort of rebates back to their employees and, making that more affordable for everyone.
Yeah, maybe our new administration will make wellness a more regular part of workplaces.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, thanks for joining us, Sandra.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you, Lisa.
Well, our next guest is Fran Lugo, and Fran and I know each other from meeting in Mexico when I did a spa management course, and I was fortunate enough to be featured in 2525 Women of the Industry in the latest publication of Go Well. Fran is the founder of Go Well, based in Mexico City, education and consulting for the wellness industry, and you're a wellness veteran yourself. So welcome to New York City.
Thank you so much.
To my recording bathroom. So, Fran, tell us what you heard this morning. We had the 10 trends, various degrees of wellness. Were there any that stood out to you?
Well, the 10s are yours amazing. They're very thoughtful, and I learned a lot from this event. What I'm taking is about doing things. More than trends are movements to make people conscious. And also the operators, investors, and owners in the wellness industry to be more conscious about the impact. For example, the watershed wellness.
Mm-hmm.
That creates a huge impact in my mind.
Let me explain for listeners that the watershed wellness trend was about looking at the amount of water we use and maybe we waste it and don't take as much care with water as we should. And where the spa industry and wellness industry, we need to do a better job.
Absolutely. I think what I most rescued of this conference is how responsible we can be with the sustainable wellness in the industry. The amounts of water you waste with one people only, then you can multiply that for all the people visiting your space. I think that creates a huge impact. So we need to do something right there. Also, the other trend is the team wellness. I think most of the spa, they're focused on a couple of treatments and target guests, and they leave behind the teens, and now it's time to recover them as one of the potential markets. So they're listening about they can feel comfortable with their skin, they can embrace their skin, the changes, and we can open services for them too.
The teens in particular are victim to their screen time. It's just their lives are lived in devices. So that analog wellness trend also speaks to that, like pulling back and being in the present moment, live in the present moment, which many teens are not comfortable doing.
I know. And one of the biggest trends this year will be also the digital detox. Most of this generation has grown with a digital connection, so they're afraid to reconnect with people too. They feel anxiety, and they're afraid to create new connections. So creating spaces or programs for them to detox, to reconnect, is also a trend that I'm very happy to learn in this edition.
So what's the status of the market in Mexico, Latin America? Is wellness being embraced at the same rate that we see it here in the U.S.?
Well, as you saw in the ranking, we are third or fourth place with the fastest recovery after the pandemic. And Mexico has a huge story regarding wellness before it was a trend because of the huge heritage we have with the healing experiences, but also because our different ecosystems all along the country. We have a lot of visitors. Most of the hotels that are now responsible on saying we are a wellness space, they are becoming more popular because they are taking this seriously. Not only we stop seeing wellness in Mexico as an amenity, now it is a purpose of the trip.
Well, good luck to you in the Latin American market, and I look forward to us crossing paths again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, and it was great to see you.
You too. So now we're here with Sally Frankel from the Mind Body Spirit Network and many other spa-related activities, including the Redbird
Yes, Redbird House.
In Jersey. In Jersey,
No, actually, it's in Bethel, New York,
Bethel, New York.
right near the site of the original Woodstock Music Festival.
Perfect. So a beautiful wellness retreat. New, so check it out. Sally is here at the Global Wellness Institute press event, as I am, and we're talking about the 10 trends we heard this morning. So I'd like to ask you, Sally, what really struck you as new or different or that you could really attach to?
Well, they're two different things. What's new and different is not necessarily what I can really attach to.
Okay.
So what I would say that was new and different for me was really the concept around the wellness tackling addiction. And even though that doesn't really surprise me because I've been aware that there are many places around the world that have dealt with all aspects of health and well-being, whether it be medical, whether it be mental wellness, whether it be more in the physical realm. But I never thought about wellness tackling what I would call serious addiction, not what I might call addiction light, and it almost feels like rehab meets wellness.
Does addiction light include smoky?
Yes, yeah.
So you mean serious, like
opioids. I mean, when I think of fentanyl and opioid addiction and meth addiction, things like that, which I've had honestly zero experience with, to me, that feels like serious addiction that has prior to now been the realm of rehab facilities. And of course, it makes sense that within a rehabilitation environment, you would bring in many aspects of wellness. But like so many of these trends, Lisa, to me, they're mashups. They are other things with wellness layered into them. And what it just speaks to is that wellness as a concept, as a service, as a good, as a, whatever you want to put it into as a product is really flowing into every aspect of our lives.
Well put. I mean, it's true because what we heard today in the 10 trends, I don't think there was anything we've never heard before. But how does it apply in a wellness setting? Yes. I mean, the Middle East part, well, that's kind of new. They're not known for their wellness activities, but now they will be with Saudi and everything happening. Everyone has resonated with the analog wellness. Yes. But I was glad to hear you speak about the addictions because it's become so widespread.
Yes.
And there has to be other ways to treat it. I'm thinking about othership. I mean, the founder, Robbie Bett, was on the podcast.
Oh, really?
A few weeks ago. I mean, that was born out of foundation.
Interesting.
In his backyard.
Yeah.
Has become a whole business.
Yes. And it does that also doesn't surprise me in the sense that for people like you and I who have been in the spa industry, now what we call the wellness industry for quite a long time, we see that personal trauma very much informs aspects of what comes into the wellness world. But then, of course, there's also the other side that comes into this, which is the genuine wanting to do good for people. And then the small cynical part, which I don't spend a lot of time in, is, where there's success and money, everyone flows. So I think back, and you might resonate with this. I don't know if you remember in 2004 when every property on the earth was adding a spa. All of a sudden, every hotel had to have a spa. And in that same year, all of a sudden, we started to see dog spas and car spas and this and that. So there was a spa for everything. How could your car have a spa? Well, if you could go have a spa treatment, your car can have a spa treatment.
It's the commoditization of the name, right? And then you think, well, we've arrived. We have. There was a leather spa in Grand Central State.
Oh, yes. I love that leather. That's so funny you remember that. That's great.
Now it's wellness.
Yes. Right. Now it's wellness. Yes. And that's good because it's a good thing to be more aware of. I'm all about awareness and awakening to one's own living your best life. Oprah, thank you, becoming your best self. And there's so many different ways to get there. And I think the trends speak to that. I mean, on a more basic level, for me, the Wellness on the Line, was not at all surprising to me. I went on the Rocky Mountaineer of my husband many years ago on a multi-sport vacation that I would absolutely call wellness travel. We hiked, we biked, we walked, we were, in nature, and we were on the Rocky Mountaineer.
But it wasn't called wellness.
No, it was not. So, there's always this idea that everything old is new again and it comes around and just, keeps cycling. But yes, of course, like everybody else, the analog wellness, that did not surprise me at all. because I cut out an article so many years ago that said Silicon Valley says step away from your personal devices. And it was the beginning of all the Silicon Valley people taking it away from their own children. So when you make a product and you don't let your own family use it, interesting. There's a message there.
There is a definite message there. So you operate the Redbird Resort, wellness kind of resort. What that you heard today will affect what you do there, programming-wise or marketing-wise? Did you find any nugget that you can use?
Oh, that's such a great question. First of all, I have to say we're not really a resort. We're a wellness house. So I don't want to make us sound too large. We're really tiny. Oh, is there anything I could use there? That's such a great question because I really need to have some of this to process. I'd say the closest thing, we do have a sauna. We have a far infrared sauna. And we put that in there, quite some time ago because, well, our house is only open 2 years, but we really love the idea of far infrared sauna so it's something that's accessible, like we talked about today. Whereas when we do our retreats, you can go use the far infrared sauna, but if you want to have a massage, that's an additional charge. So it's that idea that, we don't have to charge extra if you use the far infrared sauna or the Somadome meditation pod or the salt booth. But I think, the analog wellness, I already have been onto this for a while, giving people an opportunity. I've been bringing people together face to face for a long time.
Sure, you're great at that.
And it's what I love. And it's what I've known for a long time, that people thrive in a different way in community, face to face, than they do when they are not seeing each other's faces. One does not have to preclude the other, but we got so far away from, we went so far over towards the digital side that this is just a correction. And as we know, corrections happen when you go too far one way.
The pen works way.
It does. So Redbird House is a place where when people come to our retreats or whether they book it themselves, because it's in nature, because it's a very calming environment, there's a natural disconnection that happens and reconnection with yourself.
So you can use the analog wellness trends certainly in your marketing.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, actually.
I love the addiction part too. I mean,
That's really intriguing to me and also scary. So when I know something's scary to me, I also know, why is it, when something scares me, it gets my attention.
what about the longevity trend? They called it longevity redefines work. People living healthy longer and so being in the workplace longer than they ever were. And now we have these multi-generational workplaces. Is that a wellness trend or is that a life hack trend?
I feel it's more of a life hack, a life trend than a wellness trend. What I didn't quite understand in the discussion of that trend was keeping yourself well to keep yourself relevant. I'm not sure if I misheard that or not, and I'd really love your interpretation, because it almost sounded to me that if you don't keep yourself well, you can't stay in the workforce. I don't know. I got a little lost in that trend.
I think the point they were trying to make is that people are working longer. Yes, they're staying healthy. I mean, this idea that we would stop at 62 or 60, we're both over that.
Oh, yeah.
Not stopping.
No.
I have no plan to stop work. I like it.
Oh, yeah.
Invigorated by it. But that's different than it was 20.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you a few things on that. First of all, I have a father who hates but now he will admit to his age, he's 92 and a half and still works full time. Wonder on Wall Street. Not even yep. Secondly, I just had lunch with Deborah Zake, who at 102 years old, almost 103, climbed up a spiral staircase, circular staircase. I was blown away just with her level of, just her level of health and thriving and vitality. And third, I was just at a retreat that I just got back from Saturday night, and there was a woman there who was 95 years old, almost blind, on terrain that a perfectly young person would find challenging. And she was there, and she was doing it. So this, to me, what I see everywhere I go now is there's just a whole population of people who are still working, who are far beyond, like you said, 60, and they're loving it, and they're doing it. In some cases, it's a very different. Also, we have to make the distinction when you have to do something versus when you choose to do something. So when you're healthy and vital and thriving and work helps be part of your purpose and you're able to still do it, that's a wonderful thing. When you are not in a situation where you're able to stop working and you're forced to, that is not a wellness thing.
That is true. No, I see your distinction there, but I feel like this is a way in which, as purveyors of wellness, we can help people have it in their life to remain relevant and healthy longer.
The whole thing is finding the purpose, finding your path that you want to walk on, living that purpose, and feeling good enough to enjoy it. I mean, to me, that's at the root of wellness. I used to see it very differently. This is the way I now see it.
Well said, Sally.
Yeah.
Some treading this.
Thank you, Lisa.